So what might you need to know about handling data in algorithms for an exam? Firstly, you need to know the difference between constants and variables. Constants are things that always stay the same, so the speed of light, gravity, etc. Whereas variables are things that can always change, such as temperature. Now, if we look at an example of some VB6 code here, I'm declaring, using the const command, a constant called pi. Now, pi is always constant, and we're setting a value there. I'm using the dim command to declare a variable called double radius as the double data type, and that value could change. So if I run this program and put in a circle radius and click on calculate the circumference, I get the answer of the circle circumference, and the answer is arrived at here by using the constant times by the variable squared. A better use of variables might be where the variable actually changes its value as the program is running through. So here it is set to the input that the user puts in, but on the next line the value is changing because we're setting it to be the squared value of the variable. In an exam, you're going to get asked about data types, and the 5 main ones to remember: integer, real, char, string, and boolean. I've got a VB.NET program here which declares variables of each of those data types and then uses them. So I've got an integer data type to store whole numbers. I've called it iHeight, and you can see there that's to store the height of somebody there. That's a whole number. I've got a double data type, which is the closest to the real data type that you'll find in VB.NET. Now, a real number needs or should allow for decimal places in there. So we can see that's to store the IQ 124.5. That's an example of a real data type. We've got the char data type. Now, a char allows you to store text but only one character. So you can see here I'm storing the gender. And then an extension of that is the string data type, which again is to text but allows you to store as many characters, letters, symbols as you want. And that's where that's one being set there. The final one is the Boolean data type. Now, Boolean means true or false. So the only values that can be stored in my variable be qualified are true or false. And if I go to try and set it, then VB.NET prompts me that I can only set it to true or false. And what this program does is just use a message box to concatenate the values in those variables with some VB new line to produce this. So showing the values in those variables. It's important to always try and set variables to the right data type. It will really help your coding. It will make your code much more maintainable and integral. There'll be less errors in your code if variables only have the data types that they should have stored within them. Now, when you're working with variables and you're working with values, there are two types of operation that you can perform upon them. One is arithmetic and the other one is operational. Now, the arithmetic ones are to do with maths. They will return numeric results, such as that example there. The different operators we can have are addition, subtraction, multiplication, / for division, / or the div command to do integer division. Now, integer division is where a sum returns only the whole number and not any of the remainders. So 3 divided by 2, for example, wouldn't return 1.5, it would return 1. And we can calculate remainders using the mod command or modulus. You can find out more about all of those arithmetic operators if you go into YouTube and go onto the PIC ICT YouTube channel and search for VB6 tutorial 14. You can find out specifically about the mod command in the PIC ICT YouTube channel on VB6 tutorial 15. The other type of operator other than arithmetic is comparison. Comparison operations always give a result that is either true or false. So we know that 5 greater than 2 is true, and the different operators are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to, where you use both of the crocodile's mouths, and equal to. And you can find out more about those on VB6 Tutorial 18 on the PIC ICT YouTube channel. Another area you will get asked about in the exam is something called Boolean logic. And this is where you're doing if, then else statements, and you introduce the uses of and, or not. So what's happening here is, if my IQ is greater than 100 and I'm qualified, then employ me. If my IQ is greater than 100 or I'm qualified, then I only get an interview. So uses of what we call Boolean logic, these keywords, almost like logic gates, to add extra conditions to your coding. Now, the two types of operators, arithmetic and comparison, will work on different sorts of data types. So integers, you can do arithmetic operations and comparison operations, so you can test whether 3 is bigger than 2, for example. With real numbers, you can do arithmetic operations, but you can't use mod or div because those commands are only designed for integers. You can also use comparison operations, so you could test that 1.5 is bigger than 0.5. For Boolean data types, you can only do logical operations. There's no maths involved with true and false. We looked at variables before. Arrays are types of variables. So here, I'm declaring a variable, but I've got brackets and a numbering after it, which is different from before. And this is all to do with being able to store multiple values within the same variable. So here, I'm saying sColor should have 5 different slots, 5 different values to store in it. And why are you thinking why 5? Well, most programming languages will start off at 0. So at 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, I will have 5 different slots. For some programming languages, that would mean there's only 4 slots. But if we look at the example there, that gives me 5 slots to store 5 different colours. Now, why are arrays really useful? Well, they just really help you to write eloquent code. So if we go and look at this bit of code, we're saying that I want to do this loop 5 times, and what I want to do is show a message box that shows me each colour, because first time round it will show me sColor 0, because the loop will start at 0, then it will show me sColor 1 all the way through to sColor 4, and that's really eloquent, maintainable, efficient piece of code that's been written there. So that's why arrays are useful, and that's probably the final thing you'll need to know about handling data in algorithms ready for your exam.